Hi folks, and welcome back to Meaningful Money. Okay, just grabbing sort of half an hour in between rain showers. Honestly, it's just what is it, 22nd of June today, so just after midsummer, and it's been lashing down most of the day. Seems like it's been windy for about 2 months. And see, I'm still wearing my body warmer and same clothes I had on in January. Just outside St Buryan at the moment, so only a stone's throw from my house. So just thought I'd come out and get a couple of videos under my belt. So we talked last time about carers allowance and pension credit. We need to deal with the sort of last two state benefits which pertain to long-term care particularly. Now in the sort of intro last time I lumped them together, but we're actually going to talk about two distinct benefits today, but they're very similar. As ever, before we get into it though, I must give a shout out to my good friends down here, 7 Investment Management, who sponsor Meaningful Money, so thank you very much indeed to them. So the two benefits we're going to talk about are attendance allowance and disability living allowance. As I say, they're very similar. They've got some sort of amounts in common, but the one is paid if you're over 65 and the one is paid if you're under 65. So let's deal with attendance allowance first, and this is the one which is paid to you if you are over 65. That's the first criteria. Secondly, you have to have been severely disabled for more than 6 months. Those are your two criteria really for being able to claim attendance allowance. Now there's two levels, and it depends whether you need care either just during the day or just during the night, or both, so 24-hour help really and assistance. So if you just need help for one part of the day, either during the day or during the night, the amount is £47.80 per week. If you need sort of round-the-clock assistance, the amount of attendance allowance is £71.40 per week. Now, those are the amounts and those are the criteria, so it's pretty straightforward really, but an important little thing we need to cover is what happens if you then need to go into long-term care. Now, as ever, it depends whether you're being funded by the local authority for long-term care or whether you're self-funding. If you are being funded by the local authority and you need to go into an NHS hospital or into a sort of residential or nursing home, then the attendance allowance will stop once you've been in care with local authority funding for 28 days. So that's important to know. But if you are a self-funder, so you're paying for your own care, then the attendance allowance continues to be paid. And so it's an important planning point, because even though the amounts don't sound huge, if you are self-funding for care, it's £71.40 per week, assuming you need round-the-clock care. It's £71.40 per week, which you need to take into account when you're planning your income and things like that for your long-term care. So it's a very important benefit. Important, I think, finally to say that attendance allowance is neither taxed nor is it means tested. So, this is available to all. So that's attendance allowance. So it's sort of pre-age 65 equivalent is disability living allowance, or DLA. So under 65, now this time you must be sort of severely disabled for more than 3 months. It was more than 6 months for attendance allowance, but it's more than 3 months now. And it must be likely that you're going to be disabled and need some kind of care for at least the next 6 months. So we're not talking about, it won't pay for sort of temporary disablement, say you've had a car accident or something like that and you're going to get better. It's for long periods. Now there's two components with disability living allowance. The first is the care component, and that works similarly to the attendance allowance. So it's if you need sort of high levels of care, the amount is £71.40. What they call a medium level is £47.80, and the low level is £18.95 per week. So most people would get that either high or low level, but if you just need sporadic occasional care, then you would qualify for the lowest one. Most would qualify for the high or the medium level, but the low one kicks in if you don't qualify for those higher levels. That's the care component. It works very similarly to attendance allowance, but there is a difference, and the second component is something called the mobility component. Now again, there's 2 levels for that. The high level is £49.85 per week, so this is in addition, okay, and that's payable if you are unable to walk or have great difficulty walking, okay, in inverted commas, great difficulty, and that is £49.85 per week. It's the high level of the mobility component. The low level, which is if you have sort of limited mobility or have some kind of restrictions, the lower level is £18.95 per week. So 2 parts to the disability living allowance: the care component, which is very similar to attendance allowance, and the mobility component, which is sort of unique to disability living allowance. So pensions credit, carers allowance, attendance allowance, and disability living allowance. These things are there to be claimed, so if you think you're going to go into care, or if you are caring for someone, then make sure these things are claimed and you look into it. Talk to the Citizens Advice, Job Centre Plus. These are where you claim these things, so talk to them and make sure it's taken into account in your planning. Any advisor you're speaking to about your long-term care planning should also take these into account. Right, so I think we've got one more to do in the long-term care series, and that's just some sort of planning issues, bit of a roundup really. So I'll see you for that next time, but for this time, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.